Gentlemen, once you are given this kind of an equation, you are told in this case here to solve it using simplex. What are you supposed to do, my good students? So if it is using simplex, this is what I will do. Step number one, the first step, come and give us what we call a simplex formulation. A simplex formulation. Give us a simplex what here? Formulation. In a simplex formulation, you shall get rid of the inequalities. You get rid of the inequalities. How do you get rid of the inequalities? In this case here, you incorporate what we call the slack stroke surplus. You incorporate the slack stroke surplus variables. You incorporate the slack stroke surplus variables. If you remember what we said in the morning, whenever you have this kind of a sign less or equal to, we normally call this one a slack. A slack. Yeah. If you have this kind of an inequality, we normally use what we call a surplus. A surplus. So in the simplex formulation, we normally start with the conditions, remember. We start with the conditions. So we shall talk over 3x plus 4y. You can see this is less or equal. I would want, when I'm doing the simplex formulation, I would want the left-hand side to be equal to the right-hand side. So then I will have to, like if, for example, you say 4 is less than 7. So 4 being less than 7, this is true. 4 is less than 7. But if you tell me in this case here to make the two sides equal, then I'll come and say 4 plus the difference, 4 plus 3, and then I'll be able to say now the two sides, left-hand side equals right-hand side. So in this case here, you can see the left side is smaller. So I need to come and say add slack 1. Add slack 1 equals 18. You add slack 1 equals 18. Add slack 1 equals 18. Equals 18. And then, ladies and gentlemen, we have here constraint number 2. We have 2x plus 5y plus slack 2 plus slack 2 equals 19. Equals 19. And then now we come and there, forget about this, start from here. Now we come and there, make this z. So this z, remember, we have to have the z equation in the simplex formulation. The z equation must read equal to 0. Must read equals to 0. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, this is what we have. So remember, in the z formulation, the z equation must always read 0 on the other side, this z. That means we take these 2x and 3y to the other side. Here they are positives. On the other side, they become what? Here, negatives. They will become negatives. So in that case here then, we will have to start with x because of this line x. So this will be minus 2x because I'm taking this other side. Minus 3y. Yeah, minus 3y. Z is not changing. So plus z, plus z, plus z, plus z equals what? I've been able to transfer everything this side. So we come and say this one equals what here? Equals 0. So up to here, ladies and gentlemen, by any chance, could we be having some students who have been able to follow up to here what I've done? Could we be having any students who have been able to follow? Yeah, great, great, great. So if that is the case, then we should be able to go ahead and finish this. So after we do this simplex formulation, we go ahead here and provide what we call the initial simplex table. Give us the initial simplex table. Initial simplex table, we have our variables x, y, s1, s2, and then of course we have z. Remember initially we had x and y. All right. And then now we have S1, S2. And then we have Z, the foreigners. All right. And then now we have what we call right-hand side. right-hand side. So we have here the right-hand side, right-hand side, right-hand side, like that. Because these figures are on the left, the right-hand side figures are on the right, like that. So then let's do these particular numbers, all of us at once. So we start with the equation, first equation. So the number before x, the number before x is 3. The number before y, the number before y is 4. The number before s1 is 1. So here we have 1 like that, 1 like that. And then we have, if you look at this equation, there is no s2 at all. There is no z at all. So their coefficients in this case here are zeros. Their coefficients are zeros. And then now we have, for equation number 1, the right-hand side number is 18. The right-hand side number is 18. So you go and do equation number 2. So equation number 2, what do we have over here? Is there somebody who can fill up equation number 2 into the table? Very easy. I can see before x, I have a 2. Before y, I have a 5. S1, there is no S1 here. No S1 here. So this is 0. We have S2, which is 1. And then you can see no Z. No Z here. Then we have the right-hand side as 19, like that. We have the right-hand side as 19. Then we come here, ladies and gentlemen. Here, what do we have? We have -2 for x. We have -3 for y. We don't have S1. We don't have S1. We have Z. Z is 1. So you can see, if you're keen enough, you'll be able to see this side. We have what we call an identity matrix. Identity matrix in matrices. So 1, 1, 1, and then the others are zeros. And don't forget, in this case here, for these, that shall be calling the objective, or the Z. The Z function. This Z function, you can see the right-hand side is what here? Is 0. The right-hand side is 0. The right-hand side is 0. Great. Now, ladies and gentlemen, after I do that, I'll be able to ask myself a simple question. We assess the above for optimality. Assess the above. Assess the above for optimality. Assess the above for what here? For optimality. Assess the above for optimality. Optimality, we are asking ourselves, is this the very best table? It can't be the best table, and yet we are seeing losses. In this Z equation, you can see there are losses. There are negatives. So there are negatives in the Z equation. So in the Z equation, we have negatives. In the Z equation, we have negatives. So there are losses. There are losses, negative Z values, negative Z values, negative Z values, negative Z values, and therefore, negative Z values, and therefore, the table is not optimal. The table is not optimal, and therefore, the table is not optimal. And therefore, the table is not optimal. This whiteboard, how does it look like? It's funny. I'm finding this to be a bit funny. Yeah, I think now it's okay now. I think now it's pretty good. So you're saying here that this Z, remember this is the Z, the last one is the Z. In this case here, we can see that there are losses, -2 and -3. So meaning that this table cannot be optimal. So therefore, I would want to run away from those losses. I would want to run away from those losses. Let's run away from the losses. Let's run away from the losses. Let's construct another table. And pray that so construct another table. How do we construct this another table here? To construct another table, there are rules of the game. Number 1, identify the biggest loss. Identify the biggest loss, which in this case here is minus what? Remember, you identify it in the Z row, which is -3. In the Z row, which is -3. So after you identify the biggest loss, ladies and gentlemen, circle Number 2, circle the column of the biggest loss of the biggest loss and call it pivot column So this is the column of the biggest loss. Circle it up. Call it pivot column. What we shall be abbreviating as PC. Call it pivot column. What we shall be abbreviating as PC. Call it the pivot column. What we shall be abbreviating as PC. What we shall be abbreviating as PC. Let me know whether you guys have been able to write up to there. Second rule. If you've been able to write up to here, yeah. So there we are okay. Now after that, the third step, you calculate ratios. Step number 3, calculate ratios. Step number 3, calculate ratios. How do we get these ratios? To get these ratios, my friends, to get the ratios, you take the right hand side, you divide this by PC. You divide this by the pivot column elements. So you calculate ratios. So meaning that you shall come here and create a column, which you shall call a column of ratios. Calculate a column of who? A column of ratios like that. Calculate a column of ratios like that. Yeah, so a column of ratios. So this column of ratios, so the first one, you are taking 18 divided by the pivot column. This is the pivot column, remember. So you take 18 divided by 4. 18 divided by 4. This one here will be 19 divided by its corresponding pivot. 19 divided by 5. Remember, you don't calculate the Z-row ratio. You don't calculate the Z-row ratio. So anytime they want you to calculate the ratios, you'll be taking the right-hand side figures, these ones, you divide them by the pivot column. Once you have done that, ladies and gentlemen, then you should be able to go ahead and tell us the third or fourth step. The fourth rule, identify the lowest ratio, the least ratio. So come and tell, what is 18 divided by 4? What is 18 divided by 4? Is there somebody who could be knowing what is 18 divided by 4? So this is 4.5. How about 19 divided by 5? How about 19 divided by 5? 3.8. 19 divided by 5 is 3.8. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, my good students, having done that, what will be the next step? So identify the lowest ratio, which in this case is this 3.8. 3.8 is lower. So this is the lowest ratio. Lowest ratio. Please circle its row. Circle its row. So come to this lowest ratio and circle the row like that. You circle the whole of it. You circle the whole of it. For the lowest ratio, you circle the whole of it. Once you circle it like that, call it the pivot row. So this is pivot row. Ladies and gentlemen, this pivot row will be our PR. You are supposed to know that PR plus PC equals PE. PR plus PC equals pivot element. Please write in full. That where the pivot row, this is my pivot row, where it is meeting with my pivot column, this one, the number at the intersection here is a very special number. We call it the pivot element. We call it the pivot element. Now let's do a new table. Let's then do a new table. So in this new table, we have our usual XY, S1, S2, we have Z, we have right-hand side. Remember, our original table has got how many rows? It has 1, 2, 3 rows. We should also have 3 rows here. 1, 2, and then we have 3, like that. Now, please remember, the very first row you will bring, the first row that you transfer to the new table, the first row, look, the camera, I have to check my camera a little. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, remember that the first row that you bring to the new table is known as a reference row. So this is my new table. Below the new table, we are saying that the first row to be brought, to the new table, to the new table, known as reference row, is known as reference row. It's known as reference row. The very first row, because we are using row analysis, we are carrying over you take row. So in this case here, this row, the pivot row divided by pivot element. Anytime they want you to get the reference row, you take the pivot row the way it is. And remember, this pivot row is row number 2. So you take the pivot row the way it is, and then you divide this by the pivot element. What is the pivot element in our question? What is the pivot element in our question? Pivot element in our question is how much? What is the pivot element in our question? Abracadabra. Yeah, it's 5, isn't it? The one that we circled here. So remember, we have 3 rows. It will be 2 over 5. This will be 5 over 5. This will be 0 over 5, 1 over 5, 0 over 5, 19 over 5. And remember, the pivot row is second row here. So I'll bring it under the second row, new answers. 1 over 5. Right. The second row. I am alone. Okay. Sorry for that, ladies and gentlemen. We had a small hiccup. So where are we? We want to get reference row. How do we get reference row? We take the pivot row values, we divide them by the pivot element. And you're the ones who told me that the pivot element is 5. So then, are you able to give me the figures now? I hope now we are back and you're able to talk. I hope you are back. Are we able to talk, ladies and gentlemen? Are we able to talk now? Geoffrey is able to hear me. Tarus the same. Now give me these answers here. Give me these answers for the second row we finish. So 2 over 5. 2 over 5. What answer do we have? 2 over 5. What answer do we have? 0.4, right? So remember, I'm writing this in row 2, eh? So 0.5. 0.5. 0.4, sorry, 0.4. And then we have 5 over 5. I know this is 1. From there, we have 0 over 5. I know this is 0. Then we have 1 over 5. I know this is 0.2. Then we have 0 over 5, which is 0. And then 19 over 5 is 3.8. Please confirm that you're able to see how I've been able to construct my reference. It's called reference row. It's called reference row. Please confirm whether you've been able to see how I got the reference. Somebody is saying yes. Now then, let's go ahead and get the missing row. The moment you understand this, we have now understood everything. We have row 1 is missing, row 3 are missing here. 2 rows are missing. So let's get row number 1. So we have here row 1 is missing. So we shall be able to look for the old row 1. So the old row 1, what do we have here? Old row 1 is here from this old table. It is 3, it is 4, it is 1, it is 0018. 0018. Like that. Yeah. I'll be able to just play around with it. No, let me just get a better place to write. Let me get a better place to write. So in this case, I'm doing a working for row number 1. I'm doing a working for row number 1. So this working for row number 1, we have the old row 1. So old row 1, what do we have here? Old row 1, we copy these row 1 figures here. So we have here 3, we have 4, we have 1, 0, 0, and then we have what here? 18. We don't copy the ratios from one table to the other table. We don't copy the ratios. And then we're using row reduction. You come and say minus something times reference. Something times reference. We say minus something times reference. Something times reference. Now, please listen. And I would want you to listen to me very, very well. I would want you to listen to me very, very well. When you look at this row 1, the old row 1, where is my pivot column? Where is my pivot column? Here. My pivot column is on top of number 4. So this is where we have our PC value, PC. So basically this PC value is what you bring here. You say 4 times the reference. 4 times the reference. So you look at this row 1, where is your PC column? Where your PC column is, take that number times the reference. So in this case here, 4 times the reference throughout. So we have here 4 times 0.4. Are you able to give me the answer? 4 times 0.4. Are you able to give me the answer? 4 times 0.4. So someone is giving me 1.6. 1.6. How about, it's 4 to be multiplied throughout. 4 times 1. 4 times 1. Tumtumie tu. Is it a little bit okay? Are you able to hear me now? Sorry for that. Sorry for that. Sorry for that. So then we have here 4 times 3.8. What figure do we have here? 4 times 3.8. What figure do we have here? 4 times 3.8, 15.2. So remember, we are using what we call row reduction. We are subtracting to get the new row 1. Come and give me the new row. New row 1. So what is 3 minus 1.6? 3 minus... Great. This is 0. 1. Minus 0.8. 0. How about this? 18 minus 15.2. 2.8. So this is what we bring here to the new table. So the new row 1, what do we have here? We have 1.4, we have 0, we have 1, minus 0.8, we have 0, and then we have 2.8 like that. Yeah. So how about row 3? The new row 3. Is there someone who can do new row 3 for us? Anybody who can try new row 3? New row 3, 1, 2, 3. Someone who can try new row 3. Oh yes, I can do it very fast. New row 3 that is missing. I can do this pretty fast. I can do this pretty fast. So new row 3. So we have here row 3. So row 3, we have the old row 3. The old row 3 is here. It's minus 2. It's minus 2. It's minus 3. It is 0. It is 0. It is 1. It is 0 there. Yeah. Then I will come and ask myself a simple question. I'll come and ask myself a simple question. Where are we having, in this case, ladies and gentlemen, where are we having the pivot column? Where is our pivot column? Is there somebody who can see the pivot column? Somebody hurry up, because I only have 14 minutes before I start Advanced FM. Before we start Advanced FM. So pivot column, you can see it is under this, minus 3. So this is where we have our pivot, what here? Our pivot column. That is where we have our pivot column. So then this pivot column number has to disappear. So I'll come and say minus for row reduction. Then we pick this minus 3. We pick this figure here, minus 3 times the reference, oh yeah. Minus 3 times the reference, oh yeah. So minus 3 times this reference figures. So is there somebody who is able to get me those numbers pretty fast? Anybody who is able to give me these numbers pretty fast? Any ninja that is able to give me these numbers pretty fast? Karibuni, class inaanza after 10 minutes. Yeah. Just take your time. Yeah. All right. So please give me these answers. We compare notes. They are not talking. They are not talking. They are not talking. So the first one I'm being told is minus 1.2 because they have taken minus 3 times 0.4, the reference. The second one will be minus 3 because they have taken that minus 3, which we have here, times the second reference. Minus 3 times 0 is 0. And then we have minus 3 times 0.2. That gives me minus 0.6. Minus 0.6. And then we have minus 3 times 0. That is 0. And then lastly, we have minus 3 times 3.8. Minus 3 times 3.8. That will give us what figure? That will give us what figure? The last one. The last one, abracadabra. Rosaline is giving me 9.5. How about the other ninjas? -3. 11.4, eh? 11.4 minus. The last one I'm being given a figure of -11.4. So go ahead and now subtract. Go ahead and subtract because of this row reduction. So this will be -2. Use your calculator. -2 minus 1.2. -2 minus 1.2. What are we getting here, ladies and gentlemen? The first one from Mr. Sita T, -0.8. Because you are saying -2, and then we have this minus for reduction, -1.2. And then we have -3 minus this number itself is -3 as well. So are you able to see 0? This, of course, will be 0. This will be positive 0.6. This will be 1. This will be 11.4, like that. So now this is our new row 3. This is our new row 3. So you come to row 3 here and write -0.8, 0, 0, 0.6, 1, 11.4, like that. So don't forget that the last row is our Z row. Don't forget that. And we normally use this Z row to inspect and say whether this table is optimal. Is this table optimal, my good students, the new table that we've developed? Is it optimal or does it have losses? It is not optimal because it has a loss. Please, I'm not looking at this loss here. I'm only looking at losses in the Z row. I can see a loss. So this table, the table has a loss. The table has a loss. And therefore, it is not optimal. It is not optimal. And therefore, it is not optimal. So if it's not optimal, does it mean we cry? You see, also, as accountants, when things don't balance at the workplace, I mean, crying can be an option. Do we cry? Do we cry? If it's not optimal, what should we do? What should we do? What should we do? Thanks, user. What should we do? We create another table, isn't it? Yeah, you say in this case here, new table 2, you're right. So you come and tell us there, new table 2. You tell us there, new table 2. Tell us there, new table 2. So tell us there, new table 2. Or table number 3. Yeah. So in this case here, remember the column titles, X, Y. We have S1. We have S2. We have Z. Remember the rows are 3. They shall not change. They shall remain the same. They shall not change. They shall remain the same. They shall remain the same. But now remember, what are we fighting in simplex? Simplex model, we are fighting the losses. We don't want a loss. So identify, in this case here, the biggest loss. What is the biggest loss? The only loss we have is this one. This is the loss. We said once you have identified the biggest loss, circle its column and baptize it. Give it a new name. What name do we give it? What name do we give this one? PC. This Ninja Faria should be given a present. This is pivot column. Thank you so much. That is pivot column. So once we get pivot column, what will be the next step? Once we get pivot column, what will be the next step? The ratios, Wambua, this lady has become very tough. This Wambua lady has become very tough. Very tough lady. So give us ratios. So these ratios, is there anybody who knows the formula of getting the ratios? Is there anybody who knows the formula of getting the ratios? Delamere has already told me that I should take, in this case here, the right-hand side. Delamere has told me right-hand side divided by pivot column. You take the right-hand side to get ratio. Let me write down here. To get ratios, you take the right-hand side, you divide by pivot column like that. So this is the right-hand side divided by the pivot column. So abracadabra, the first one will be 2.8 divided by 1.4. 2.8 divided by the pivot column. This one here will be 3.8. We divide by this 0.4. And then, ladies and gentlemen, here, remember, we don't get ratios. We don't get ratios for the last one. We shall not get ratios for the last one. No ratios there. No ratios there. No ratios there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please go ahead and give me these ratios. They have already given me the ratios. What are the ratios? Can someone tell me? 2.8 divided by 1.4 gives me what figure? They are telling me it is 2, that this is 2, eh? This is 2, and the 3.8 divided by 0.4 gives me what? Gives me 9.5. Thank you very much, 9.5. Now, please, you are the ones who are guiding me. Now, tell me, what will be the next thing after getting those ratios? You're my drivers now. You're my drivers now. Remember, I've been with you from 7 a.m. in the morning. Thank you so much. We get the pivot row, and the pivot row is the one that has the highest ratio, isn't it? Pivot row is the one that has the highest ratio, right? Right? Thank you so much, Valentine. It is the lowest ratio. So the lowest ratio, this one too. So you come and circle this one here. Call it pivot row. Pivot row. What do you know about pivot row and the pivot column? Where they're intersecting, we have pivot element. Is there somebody who can give me the pivot element? Yeah. Anybody who can read for me the pivot element figure from this? Pivot element takuwa ngapi? Pivot element takuwa ngapi? Pivot element ni iko hapa 1.4. Iko kwa intersection ya the pivot row and the pivot column. So we know that the pivot element, my friends, the pivot element is 1.4. Pivot element is 1.4. Thank you so much. So then, having gotten the pivot element, what do you think in this case here will be the next step? What do you think will be the next step? What do you think will be the next step? What do you think will be the next step? What do you think will be the next step? What do you think will be the next step? What do you think will be the next step? Ladies and gentlemen, having gotten the pivot element, the next step will be for you to give us what we call the reference row of the new table. Reference row, which will be the pivot row. You divide the pivot row elements by the pivot element throughout. And remember now, the pivot row is row number 1. Tuende kazi sasa. Tuende kazi sasa, tuende kazi. So kumbuka tunachukua hii all over divided by 1.4, eh? So this divided by 1.4, this divided by 1.4. The pivot row elements, you divide them by pivot element. So please give me the new numbers. And remember, this is row number 1. So here it will be row number 1. Give me the new numbers. Give me the new numbers. Tuanze hapa kazi woye. Noma si noma. 1.4 divided by 1.4, that is 1. 0 divided by 1.4, that is 0. 1 divided by 1.4, somebody give me this answer. Oh yeah. Tuko na 1 divided by 1.4. Wanaenda pole pole. 0 points. Please, for the sake of simplicity, let me round off to 2 decimal places. Let me round off to 2 decimal places. For the sake of simplicity, not accuracy. Accuracy I should do 3. For simplicity, let me just put this in 2 decimal places. How about this one? This one will be 0 divided by 1.4, which gives me 0. This one will be 2.8 divided by 1.4, which gives me what here, somebody? Which gives me 2. This gives me 2. This gives 2. Haya. Hii sasa hii ndio utakuja hapa oye, unaita. We completed with 3. I don't understand that, Christabel. We completed with 3. I don't remember that. Now, remember, the pivot row, if it's number 1, then we have it, reference comes here number 1. The reference row will be number 1 there. So then we have 2 rows missing. So for these 2 rows which are missing, abracadabra, give me their figures. Use row reduction and they give me their figures. So come here and they give me row 2. So row 2, we have the old row 2. So old row 2, what do we have here? The old one is here. So we have 0.4, we have 1, we have 0, we have 0.2, 0, and then we have 3.8. Sorry for that, 3.8. Aya. Niambeni katika hii row number 2, pivot column iko wapi? Pivot column iko on top of which number? Pivot column iko on top of which number? Or S2 is S2 is supposed to be 0.57. I S2, S2, S2. Here, this one S2, this one S2. Yeah, I'm told it's supposed to be minus 0.57. Then that means that this figure is wrong. S2 point and then Z will be 0. Z will be 0. Z will be 0. Z will be 0. And then we have here right-hand side. Right-hand side will be 2.8 divided by 1.4, which gives us 2. Is this okay now? Is this okay now? Is this okay now? Thank you so much. You guys are even becoming brighter than Mwalimu himself, which is really, really good. It's supposed to be like that. Thank you so much. Now we want to get row 2. So it is 0.4100. It's 0.41, 0.41, 0.410, 0.20, 3.8, like that. 3.8 like that. So then where is the pivot column? The pivot column is on top of which number? In this row 2. Oh, they're not giving me the answer. The next class has started. Next class has started. The next class has started. The pivot column is on top of which number? Yeah, you can see pivot column here. This is the PC. It is on top of number 0.4 here. So this is the PC. So I'll come and say minus. I pick this PC 0.4 times the reference. So you take 0.4 and multiply 0.4. You multiply all these numbers with 0.4. So we say 0.4 times 1. Hebu nipatie ni answers zote kwenda huko. Nipe answers zote kwenda huko oye. Nipatie answers zote kwenda huko oye. So the next one they're telling me it is 0, Christabel. Thank you so much. Nipatie the next number. Thank you, Faria. Thank you, Sylvia. So the third number, it is this times 0.4. It is that times 0.4. What are we getting, ladies and gentlemen? 0.28, right? So I'm being given 0.28, and then we have this times 0.4. It will be minus something. 0.4 times that 0.57. What are we getting there? Minus 0.23. Great. And then we have, in this case here, 0.4 times 0. So this gives me 0. Then we have 0.4 times 2. Are you able to give me 0.4 times 2? Inakuja ngapi 0.4 times 2? 0.4 times 2 number is 0.8. Number is 0.8 like that. So kuja sasa fanya row reduction. Fanya row reduction, you are subtracting. You are subtracting to get the new row 2. So you are subtracting to get the new row 2. So this will be 0, this will be 1. This will be minus 0.28. How about this? This is 0.2 minus this, which will be 0.43. 0.43. Oh, yet I will give 0.43. This will be 0. This will be 3 exactly. So then the new row 2, this is the new row 2. So we have here 0, 1. We have here minus 0.28. We have here 0.43. We have here 0. And then we have 3 there. I'm so sure that I'm moving with the high speed. I'm sorry. There are students who are waiting for me. Please understand. Understand. So the last step, as I disappear, come and give me new row 3. So new row 3, give me the old row 3. Give me the old row 3. So the old row 3, what we have here, somebody, we have minus 0.8. We have 0, 0, 0.6, 1, and then we have 11. 11.4. Namna hiyo. Namna hiyo. So are you able to tell me, ladies and gentlemen, amongst all these numbers, which number do we have under PC? Amongst all these numbers, which number is the PC number? Thank you so much, Wambua. It is this one here, PC. So you'll come and say minus this PC number, which is 0.8 times the reference. Are you able to give me these values pretty fast? So minus 0.8, because you are picking this PC. Minus 0.8 times the reference. This is the reference, don't forget. Give me those answers very fast. Ya kwanza itakuwa minus 0.8. Not 0. Ya kwanza itakuwa minus 0.8. Ya pili itakuwa ngapi? Kumbuka reference ni moja kwa table. Ya pili itakuwa sasa 0. Nimewapeleka mbio kidogo, lakini watanisamea. Ya tatu itakuwa ngapi, somebody? minus 0.8 times 0.71. Inakuwa 0.57. Yeah, minus 0.5. No, positive where? Positive because you see this is minus 0.8 and that is 0.57. So itakuwa positive. Haiwezi kabaki hivyo the same. Haitabaki the same. Haitabaki the same. Yeah, 6 p.m. tuanze. Yeah. So ladies and gentlemen, sorry for the network. We have some constructions. They're really, really affecting us. So then kindly come and give me these figures here. So please give me these figures as I finish. Minus 0.8 times minus 0.57. What figure do we have here? What figure do we have here? .46. So this is 0.46. And then we have lastly, second last, minus 0.8 times 0, that is 0. And then we have here minus 0.8 times 2. Minus 0.8 times 2 gives me what figure? S1. S1. I'm told S1 is supposed to be 0.57, 0.57 S1. I don't know. S1 I'm told is supposed to be. Is that correct? Is that correct for S1 now? Is that correct for S1? Yes. And then here we have I hope this is 0. I hope this is 0. So remember, this is X. This is Y. S1, S2, Z. Z, and then right-hand side. So give me the one of S2. S2, what do we have S2? S2 is 1.06. 1.06. Are you sure that S2 is 1.06? No, S2 can't be 1.06. S2, I'm taking 0.8 times that 0.57. What figure do we have? So they're giving me 0.4, 0.4, 0.4, 0.46 positive. 0.46 positive. And then now we have 0.8 by that 0, and then 0.8 by that 2. How about minus 0.8 by that 2? That gives me what here? Minus 1.6. So please go ahead and subtract. So what do we have here? This becomes 0. This is 0. This is 0. So this will be 0 minus this, which will be 0.57. How about this S2 figure? What do we have here for the S2 figure? 0.6 minus this. 0.6 minus this, 0.14. This is 1. 11.4 minus 1 point minus 1.6. 13. 13. So then this is the new row 3. New row 3. So we have here 0, 0.57.14. We have 1, and then we have 13, like that. And then now you can go ahead and interpret. So how do you interpret? So we have the value of x1. So x, you look at where we have this. You see, this is 1. So x with 1 corresponding, you read the right-hand side. So in this case here, x is 2. X equals 2. You go to y. So y, 1, there, 13. 13. All right. From there, of course, you can see another one here. The total value of z. Total value of z will be 13. And that is the end of that question. That is the end of that question. So is there somebody who is able to remember our graphical solution gave us that answer? Anybody who is able to remember the graphical solution gave us that answer? Yes, no assignment. I'm too late for my next class. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow at 8. See you tomorrow at 8 or at whatever time we shall agree on the group. Have you understood simplex a little bit? Have you understood simplex a little bit? Have you understood simplex a little bit? Yes. Cheers.